Hello, welcome to another episode of Investigators in Cars Drinking Coffee. I'm your host, Mark Murnan, president of Complete Legal Investigations in West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm a certified legal investigator, certified fraud examiner, and I am joined, surprisingly, by my continuing co-host, co-founder, co-creator, Wendy Straw-Murnan, licensed private investigator, certified paralegal. And Wendy, we're going to talk about female PIs.
Yes.
In fact, we're going to talk about the first female private investigator.
We are.
So was it, who was the first? Was it Nancy Drew?
No, we're talking about real.
Or was it real private eyes? Not Nancy Drew. Was it Charlie's Angels?
No.
No, we're talking real.
Real.
So how far
real
back?
Thing.
How far back are we going before we talk about Kate Warren, the first female PI?
We are going to the 1800s.
The mid 19th century?
Yes.
Wow, that's
Yes.
long ago.
I know.
Okay, for a surprising, but Kate Warren.
Yes.
Tell me now. You read a book. What was the book?
Well, I had our marketing person, Mary Anna Mancuso, who is fantastic, recommend a book to me called The Lincoln Conspiracy because it talked about the first detective agency, which was the Pinkerton National Detective Agency.
Pinkertons. We never sleep. The big
in
eye.
Chicago.
We never sleep.
Yeah, the big eye. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And they eventually were hired to uncover a plot to kill President Abraham Lincoln before, this was before he was even president.
Wow. Okay.
So they hired the Pinkerton agency, and so it was a very interesting story.
I'll bet it was. And Kate Warren actually, she had an interesting background herself. She
did, yeah. There were no female detectives at the time.
There weren't any detectives.
Yeah, she wandered into Alan Pinkerton's office, and he said, "I'm sorry, I don't need a secretary." She said, "Well, I'm here to respond to your detective ad. I think I'd be perfect."
Okay.
So
and she did. She did.
And he's like, "No way! Well, there's no such thing as a woman detective." And
What was his concern though? Was more safety.
her safety, yeah, and she convinced him, look, women are gifted uniquely, that I could do some things that men couldn't do.
Yeah.
Maybe not physically, but intuition-wise, and I can talk to people that men, and ordinarily they wouldn't talk to a man. She
Right.
kind of convinced Mr. Pinkerton to hire her,
Yeah.
and so he started a whole new trend.
Right. And she actually did undercover work. It wasn't easy. It was very dangerous.
She did some tough stuff, and especially on this Lincoln conspiracy. She went undercover, and it was some heavy-duty stuff, and she was so, involved in it, and was very, was part of the solution there, with some of her male counterparts that also went undercover with some of these groups where the conspiracy was, and I mean, it was inspiring.
Wow. And I'm just thinking to myself, it was in the midst, not just dangerous,
Yeah.
life-threatening, but she had a family as well. She was a widow, a couple children.
Yeah, she was 26 years old, and she was a widow. She did not have children, but
Okay.
she was taking care of her parents.
Okay.
And she was a gutsy
Yeah.
lady.
Yeah.
Pinkerton was well known as a detective at the time. He started kind of in law enforcement. He was helping the police.
Right.
But then ended up getting into other things. So she was really instrumental in the Lincoln. They ended up, shutting it down, and
Wow.
he gave his speech. It was no problem. They snuck him in on the train, and she was back up, up north, also letting them know. So it was very interesting. I've done a little undercover work and nothing like that. So I was very impressed.
But you've done it.
I have, and it's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
I remember about a couple of them, but we'll get into those another time.
Yeah,
but I've often commented that women have an intuition that, and I'm just going to be blunt about it. I mean, you have an intuition. I've developed 35 years or almost 40 years of professional investigation. You still have an intuition that I'd kill for.
Yeah, we're born with it.
I know. It's a relational ability to speak with people. As good as I am with it, and I'm not bad, you still have an intuition about things that I envy. I'm grateful for.
And she made it through the investigation. She was not injured in any way. The sad part was, though, she did end up dying at a young age from illness.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah.
It's a very volatile time.
Yeah.
But that's a kind of a backdrop. The private investigative profession is not something new. People have always been seeking information, but there have always been women who have been involved in critical aspects and critical points in history and their ability to develop information, to cultivate relationships is critical to the success of any endeavor. So
Yeah.
grateful to hear about this one in particular. And,
Yes, read the book. It's a fantastic book.
Okay, now you're doing a webinar. You're doing a webinar yourself, talking about your own experiences.
Yes.
Okay, and that's going to be October 7th.
Yes.
And that is going to be on the subject of?
The Silver Bullet, Finding Ex-Employees for
Okay.
Corporate Defendants.
All right, that's a part of our marketing to plaintiff attorneys.
With
And,
Valley.
That's the Florida Association of Licensed Investigators. We'll be sponsoring that webinar on October 7th. I believe it's a Wednesday night. So visit the Valley website. We'll click down in there to enable you to hear how Wendy and how she develops this information, which is so important to plaintiff attorneys. On anywhere from cases are usually several $100,000 to sometimes millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And they will gladly pay for good information that you're developing without risking your life.
No, I don't risk my life.
Well, you do driving around with me.
I'm undercover on the computer.
There you go. And in field work
But
too.
I'm digging.
So she's digging.
That's
so.
a lot of digging.
Anyway, but thank you for joining us on Investigators in
Yes,
Cars
thank
Drinking
you.
Coffee, and we will see you next time. In the meantime, be safe, be careful, and we will see you next week on Investigators in Cars Drinking Coffee.
Bye-bye now.